Boom. Let's get it. How we doing? What's good? We're back. Chev, how's it going?
You know me, brother. Any day on this side of the dirt's a good one.
That's right. That's right. Big Co, how you doing?
Doing good. Love hearing that from Chev.
All right, we're back with another live mock. It's a Monday, but it feels like a Sunday, one of those weird holiday weekends. We got a Superflex Dynasty. I guess we need to start saying that now because it's going to be the time of the season where some redraft stuff starts popping up, right? So we got a Dynasty Superflex tight end premium, third round reversal, as per usual here. So, how are we feeling after a long Memorial Day? Everybody feeling good? Or are you a little sleepy as we let this draft unfold in front of our eyes?
I mean, I've been indoors all day because it's been raining nonstop for the last 3 or 4 days. So I was glad to be able to do this. I've had to wrestle with my kids for like the last 2 hours.
That's right. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. We got some Patreon questions to start this thing off if you guys want to hit some of those while we wait for the board to fill out a little bit. What would you pay for Breece Hall and rookie picks for 2025?
Me myself personally. Let Corey go first because I've been on this kick all day on Twitter.
Oh, okay. All right.
You been defending Breece or you been selling Breece on Twitter all day?
No, I've been defending. Like I am a big Breece believer.
Same. Obviously I don't want to give any more than I have to give. So if I just had a Rolodex of draft picks, I'm gonna start somewhere towards the middle, towards the back, just to get it rocking. So if we're talking draft picks, obviously in my drafts, the 110 in one draft is completely different name as another draft, and etc. So like, I mean, if I gave the Breece Hall guy, if I sent the 110 over, is he accepting that? And so like.
It depends, man. Like how personally harmed they were by the 2024 season. But like that's his career low, and it was 15 points a game.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right there. I'm happy to buy him for the price tag.
Like, so a guy on Twitter was telling me that. So this is the thing. As I put it out there, as like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like we're talking about a 24, like a guy who's going to be 24 on his second contract, and probably in a better situation. All the shit that me and Casey have been saying, like, hey, it's probably going to get better, and if he leaves, it gets even better than that. So I mean, if I had to give up a first and a third in the same draft, or a first and like a third in 2026 or 2027 to get that done, if like somebody says no to the 108 and I come back and I'm like, okay, so I'll give you a 27 third. And they're like, oh, okay. It's like you can figure out how to get your 27 third back. So that guy feels good. He's like, I got a first and a third for Breece. Oh, he's not good anymore. Oh, I hate 15 points a game. Then you just got Breece.
I don't want 15 points a game over here.
Like you just got Breece, who I believe is still one of the 5 best running backs talent-wise in the entire NFL, for a first and a third that you can figure out how to get back. And I'm in on that all day long.
Right.
Well, Breece a big, awesome running back. He has explosive plays. That's what we all are chasing. He can catch. So you got a guy that can be a receiving back if you want to throw it to him. You got a guy that can either catch it and run with it for long touchdowns or break long touchdowns on running the ball. That's, like literally the taste in your mouth it's not good. But he was right there with Bijan last year, and the bottom fell out of the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think any like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Breece, if I can do that or add something to it, I think that's around one. That first round, late first for Breece. It's just the price is down and I'm buying. So like, I don't think you need to send any of the upper ones. I'm starting down at the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then if I did have to add a little bit of something in 26 or 27, I would do that to get it done. So, but yeah, Breece has been a big ad for us for a lot of this offseason. And that's just kind of what you do, right? As when you have a good player and you believe in the talent, you just kind of just keep pushing forward as the value goes down. You just keep collecting shares as people's grips loosen. And that's, one of the easiest ways I think to play Dynasty and to keep gaining little bits of value, because people will lose patience really quickly because they had expectations for this player at this level and it didn't quite work out for some reason. So that's the new standard for that player instead of that being maybe the low for that player. Right. So,
I mean, just his rookie year, it was 16.4 points a game, basically 700 yards and 5 touchdowns on 100 touches total, 81 carries, 19 receptions. And then 2023, he leads the position in receptions, and then he's, RB6 in points per game. And now this year, he's RB17. It's just like, to me, it reminds me of Todd Gurley 2016, like after a strong rookie year. Everybody just was like, oh, he's RB, he's going to be the RB1, whatever. And then that offense was so bad that he just couldn't overcome all that. And it was 1,200 yards from scrimmage and 6 touchdowns. He finished the overall RB17 or somewhere around there. And now Brees does the same thing, kind of. And everybody's like, oh, well, he was bad by some metric last year. It's like, watch. Like, did he have as many explosive runs? No. But that can happen from time to time. He was still really he's still Brees Hall. It just he didn't have as many explosive plays. And then, they just take the ability to have explosive plays out because Aaron Rodgers is like dead last in pace of play. So long story short, I'm in on Brees. That's what I would pay for him. There you go.
That's a really, really good point about the pace of play, right? So as awesome as Chuba Hubbard was last year, he had 2 more points than Brees Hall. Brees Hall had two less points than Bucky Irving. Obviously, Bucky Irving had a little bit of a slow start as a rookie getting out there ahead of the other guys on the team. But Brees Hall had the 4th most catches of running backs with 57, right? So he's doing everything he could do. Slow pace of play is a really, really good point to throw in there for that whole offense, and that brings down your running back every time. And just for the last, counting stats, like Joe Mixon was amazing last year. Had a couple bad games at the end of the year, but he was absolutely amazing weeks 1 through 14. Brees Hall had more points.
Yeah. See? Right. All right, let's jump into this mock here. We had a little bit of a hiccup there at the beginning, and Burrow did go 3. My man got auto-picked a little there, but it's all right. If at the end of the day, if it's 6-point passing touchdown, I'm not even all that upset about it. I think there's not that many quarterbacks I'd rather have than Burrow. So no sweat there, Johnny. But we had Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Burrow, and Allen go with the first 4, then Chase and Jefferson. Then we had Genty, Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, Patrick Mahomes at the 110, Bowers at the 112, and Bowers at the 111 and Gibbs at the 112. Then he turned around with Neighbors, so pair Gibbs and Neighbors together. Then we had CD at the 2-2, Trey McBride at the 2-3, Drake May at the 2-4, Puka Nacua at the 2-5, Herbert staying going early in these 2-6, St. Brown at 2-7, and at 2-8 you had Brian Thomas. So the 2 guys who took the receivers at 1-5 and 1-6 double back with 2 sets of receivers to kick their draft off. So they've got elite market shares of some receiving production there. So that's going to be a fun start to monitor. Then we had Drake, Nico Collins at the 210, Caleb Williams at the 211, Marvin Harrison at the 212, then Ladd McConkey at 3-1, Omarion Hampton at 3-2, CJ Stroud at 3-3, Bo Nix at 3-4, Saquon Barkley 3-5, Cam Ward at 3-4. Ward Daddy Ward really been steady creeping up. Purdy at Ward at 3-6, Purdy at 3-7, JSN 3-8, Jordan Love 3-9, Achane 3-10, and then Brees Hall, who we led the episode with, at 3-11. Shout out to 3-11. All right, so we've got an interesting couple of starts here. We got 3 wide receivers from Hoodie. He goes heavy, JSN, Brian Thomas, and Chase to start with. Chance goes Justin Jefferson, ASB, and Purdy. So those are kind of fun starts. We've been kind of kicking around the idea. This draft's a little different here. I feel like I feel like back half we've been seeing more single quarterbacks through the first couple rounds and more doubles in the front half. And this one we've got a little even distribution. So as far as box coloration goes for your picks, anything standing out to you guys right away, Big Co?
I mean, I love that Jefferson, St. Brown, and then Chase, like you said, Hoodie, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas, getting Brian Thomas at 2.8. That feels amazing. So you got Jamar Chase and Brian Thomas, and that's fun. Jefferson, St. Brown is fun. As big a fan as I am of Purdy, maybe he wouldn't be my third round pick there, but he just got back on the clock. He took a tight end, but maybe he was wanting to go back to back quarterbacks and he just had to pick one. But that's a fun looking team.
The receivers are fun. You've created a positional advantage every week. That's gonna be tough to beat, especially with the volume that both of Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown are gonna get. That Drake, May, Bo Nix start to me is what stands out. Obviously, I've been pretty vocal about how bullish I'm going to be on Bo Nix because of the fact that he's tied to Sean Payton. They're consciously going about adding weapons. Offensive line was solid last year, and now they've got their guy that can do everything in RJ Harvey. I guess my question would be that we'll go there, and then I've got a question for you guys about the fact that, or everybody listening, like how far apart do you think JSN and Rashee Rice are in terms of value?
Big Co?
Not far for me. I mean, I'm a Rashee Rice guy. I don't meet too many non-Rashee Rice guys out there. I don't think there's a meeting, if you're not a Rashee Rice guy. But Casey and the three of us really have just been, especially Casey, not putting up with any Patrick Mahomes hate without bringing it to the mics. But like the Legion of Zoom, as you say, Chev, the Chiefs upcoming of their offense with the 3 to 4 wide receivers they could have out there this year. Hollywood Brown barely got to play last year. Rashee Rice dominant before he gets hurt, right? And then so let's just see. And then, Worthy comes on and just dominates that, last 4 or 5 games regular season and then crushes it in the playoffs. So that's just Rashee Rice. If he just takes over for Travis Kelce, and the PPR floor and ceiling are just going to be monstrous, right? Mm-hmm. If it's, I don't think I respect what Noah Gray's doing out there, and I expect him to be slightly valuable.
I respect what he's doing out there.
I expect him to be slightly valuable when the wheels finally fall off of Kelce. And I thought, that was kind of like what could the craziest thing that could have happened in the NFL draft whenever Casey asked me about it was the Chiefs trading up to get Colston Loveland, And so like, it's basically Rashee Rice he was looking like Travis Kelce the first couple weeks of the season. So I'm big on Rashee Rice. I think I could I don't know if I'd give you JSN. I don't know if I'd give you Rashee Rice for JSN. I really don't.
Okay. Okay. So that's much closer. That's much closer than what I would have assumed. I was in startup and I took Rashee Rice over JSN, and that was considered somewhat spicy. But I was like, man, I went back and looked at. So you look at that back half of 2023. Basically a 6-game stretch. It's between 6 and 11 targets like every single week. It's 50 targets in 6 games. Caught 47 of them for roughly 600 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that set it off. And then last year, 9 targets, 14 targets, 6 targets in 3 games, 21.2 points per game. I mean, I don't know if that volume is sticky over a long period of time, but I feel like, he's just shown us that he's awesome at football whenever they've thrown the football his way. So like, at what point should I just believe it?
Yeah.
No, I'm here they've got, a reasonable gap between them, but nothing huge. I think that's about right from, kind of what to expect there. But I love the idea of Rice in the 4th there. I think that's super strong value for Johnny there. So yeah, I wouldn't say huge gaps at all. pretty close-ish with 1-for-1. I think generally more people are going to be excited about JSN than Rice.
Yep.
So, you might be able to get a topper on a lot of that. So, but yeah, man, Hoodie's out there. He got Kyler in the 4th. That starts his quarterback run, and he went Tyler Warren in the 5th, right? So
I love what he's doing.
Yeah, I like that. And then, in the corner there, we got who do we got? Ghost something. I can't read that from here. I got my monitor's a little far away, but he had Gibbs, Neighbors, McConkey, so he goes running back, 2 wide receivers, and then regardless of whether or not you like the quarterback selection there of who he took, there were some other options on the board: McCarthy, Goff, Baker, Dak, along with some others. But the way he is building the team box coloration wise, running back, 2 wide receivers, and then hammered 2 quarterbacks right there, kind of on the turn with Trevor Lawrence and Michael Penix. Again, whether you like those quarterbacks or not, I like how that build can shape up for him. We'll see what Killer PF can kind of put out. He started with Bowers, and he got Lamb. He went 2 running backs then, and he's got himself a quarterback. So we'll see what his options are through the rest of the draft here. So some fun builds to start that didn't go quarterback heavy, kind of off the rip here. So let's catch back up on some of this roundage here. We had Bucky Irving go in the 4th, 4-1, Roma Dunze 4-2, Rashi 4-3, Tet McMillan 4-4, Kyler Murray 4-5, Laporta 4-6, Travis Hunter 4-7, AJ Brown 4-8, Travion Henderson 4-9, T Higgins 4-10, Jonathan Taylor 4-11, and then Trevor 4-12, and Penix the wraparound 5-1. Mayfield, Worthy, McCarthy, Goff coming in at the 5-05. Then it was Judkins, Kyron at the 5-7, Warren at the 5-8, Jacobs 5-9, Chase Brown 5-10, Devonta Smith 5-11, Dak Prescott 5-12, wrapped around with Flowers, and then CMC at 6-2, Bryce Young at 6-3, Caleb Johnson 6-4, right next to RJ Harvey 6-5, and Mbuka brings us to 6-7. So what are we thinking here, boys? What are we liking? How we've kind of seen things played out? We've got 6 and 5.5 rounds done, moving pretty quickly through these. So what else has stood out to you besides a couple of non-quarterback teams starting kind of heavy and liking how they've built the team so far? What you think, Bitco?
I'm still kind of surprised Chase Brown lasts to 5'10", but I understand it. Superflex, there's a whole lot of pink boxes, quarterbacks taken in front of him. One of the biggest questions I have still is when we'll got a show we're going to do, I guess, Wednesday night for Dynasty Startup Strategy, but I don't know what to do with Christian McCaffrey. He's 6'2" right here, and Big D, Vingo takes him. Big D ain't going to be bullied around about his opinion at all. He's going to take who he wants to take when he wants to take them. And Christian McCaffrey at 6'2" just feels like that guy that could just help you win your league for 2 years in a row. Or like in the 6th round, I feel like you could swallow that, if it just doesn't work out. What do you do? You get Garindo. You just make sure you get Garindo on your team, and
you're good.
So like you take McCaffrey somewhere in that 6th or 7th, wherever he's fallen. You play the ADP game. He doesn't have to be on every. He's not going to be somebody that you go out of your way to get. But like when it happens and the value lines up, you grabbing McCaffrey and backing him up with Garindo later. And like I think last week you were like 15th or 16th round was Garindo, and we're gonna love that. I love that pick. No matter if I got McCaffrey or not, Garindo's gonna be on my team. Mm-hmm. So you grab right. McCaffrey and
exactly.
Yeah. It's like
it's
if it goes right, Jesus.
Yes.
If it goes,
Yeah. That's yeah. If it goes right, you have one guy who's locked into the top 3 week over week basis, right? Like that is stamped, signed, sealed, delivered. And then, if it doesn't go right, it didn't ruin you. You just know you have insurance plans in place. You got to draft a couple extra running backs now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or build out of the best team. Like, instead of chasing running backs, saying I got Christian McCaffrey, I'm chasing running backs. I'm gonna take the best asset available in all formats, no matter position, not a big deal. And then make sure I got a couple of those later running backs, like that 10, 11, 12 spot last week we were talking about, where some really fun running backs are. Garendo later, lightweight. If that way, if McCaffrey doesn't go right, maybe I got a hole in my lineup, and that helps me get a better draft pick next year. But my team is full of as many good players as I can have. I don't. When I take a player who's a question mark, I don't want to necessarily chase something that might make me weaker later, because the first thing that I chased could make me weaker, if that makes sense. If if it hits, McCaffrey's a beast, and see you in the playoffs. And if it misses, again, like in the 6th round, I feel like I could just handle it.
Well, and if it, like, you can get Garendo and he's cheap. It's not like he's like, it's like he's going 2 rounds from now and you got to pay a premium for him, right? So you can make sure you get Garendo, even if it's a round early, because by that time you're flipping coins on which guys you like, right? When you're kind of in that Garendo area, right?
Good point.
You can also get Jordan James as well.
Yes,
super late, right?
And it's not like 10th round Blake Corum to back up Kyron last year,
right? Exactly. But if you don't go down, down that rabbit hole of chasing, and your team's pretty good, but McCaffrey's in and out or hurt or just not at the level he was, and you do have Garendo, that opens the door then up for, you can go use your second next year to buy Kamara from some bad team, or you can go buy from, when it's time, when it's week 4, 5, 6, and you see that somebody's starting to struggle and they got the older running backs, Derrick Henry just went up here. It's what was that? 7-1. Like, somebody, that guy's team, Neighbors could get hurt week 1. Lawrence's shoulder's not right, and Penix isn't any good for whatever reason, right? And all of a sudden he's like, damn, I got 7th round capital in Henry. I'd love to just get this 2 back right now. So
or 2,
somebody out there is going to want to trade a cheaper running back, probably, if that's another way to damage control that. If things are going well, if not, then you just take your lumps and keep it moving.
I pulled that's exactly what I did last year. Right before the playoffs started, a team that one of my teams came to life, and I bought Joe Mixon for super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't help me. Like, all of a sudden, like he was like RB4, but he was quote unquote old, and the team that I bought him from was losing, and I got him for super cheap. And I think I gave Trey Benson and 2 third-round picks the next year, and the backup running back, the rookie for the Dolphins. That everybody loved, Jalen Wright. So, I mean, super cheap now. I mean, Trey Benson could be a stud this year if something happens to what's his name in front of him.
James Conner.
Connor gets hurt week 1. I didn't get him for cheap anymore. But I got 3rd place, but I could have got second. I could have made it to the championship and made some money, right? So I took my shots, but I waited to the very end to make sure my team was coming to life and doing what it was going to do, and I bought some cheap running backs.
I don't disagree with that at all. The point is more what you were saying. I'm gonna take more calculated shots. To go back to the original question, my thought, the Christian McCaffrey, like, I just want to take a few more shots on the back end, as far as running backs go, like that 10, 11, 12 range, like you talked about. Like, I'm going to take running backs there, whereas I might take my guy or somebody that I think has more upside. Like, I just want to insulate myself a little bit more there. So I'm going to have more running backs on my roster because I have Christian McCaffrey, is what I was trying to say. And you said
gotcha.
That. So.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Let's pick it up here. We had Abuka.
We had Abuka?
Yeah. We had Loveland at 6'7", Cook at 6'8", Lave 6'9", Kenny Walker at 6'10". Love that. DJ Moore 6'11", Hawk 6'12", Derrick Henry 7'1", Tua 7'2", Pickens, Addison, Kittle 7'5", Dart 7. Ooh, early Dart seems like maybe I'm off there, but Dart at 7'6", Chuba 7'7", Terry 7'8", Jameson Williams 7'9", Dalton Kincaid. Ooh, that seems early for him too. Maybe I'm wrong there though. have to check the ADP. Waddle 7-11, Mixon 7-12, and Montgomery 8-1. So team in the one spot doubles down on running backs right there. A couple of olds, but not super duper old. Then we got Ayuk at 8-2, Higgins at 8-3, Golden at 8-4, Pearsall at 8-5. So a nice run of receivers there. We got Fields sandwiched in the middle of there. So Fields is the pull emergency cord quarterback. You know, if you don't have what you need and like you navigated it and you're like, well, fuck, I really want this guy here. I could take this quarterback, but I really don't love him. And you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna just make sure I get Fields, and then we'll get Geno Smith a little later or something like that, and just know I've kind of surrounded this thing. And if things are going well for Fields, I'm scoring fantasy points. If not, he's on the damn bench, and I probably lost all that value again. But if it's going well, I got a real good chance of putting, top 8 fantasy points up quarterback wise. All right, so 8-7 we had DK, 8-8 Luther, 8-9 we're on to Judy. So we talked about Judy a little bit on the last time that we did this. There goes Tyrone Tracy. Riley was asking thoughts on Tyrone Tracy a little earlier, so I figured I'd leave that question until we got there. So, well, how are you guys feeling about Tyrone Tracy this year? What do you think of Tyrone Tracy Jr.? How we playing that? There you go.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I don't think that he's just gonna get wiped away by Cam Scatterboo, the Anglo-Saxon assassin. I just think that if he has a fumbling problem, it's going to become more of a timeshare, and that lends itself toward, Cam Scatterboo being able to generate better and more explosive plays. And however, Tyrone Tracy is really good, man. Like, that's not if he's not fumbling the ball, it's going to be an annoying timeshare where he's going to have to, if we're assuming like what do you think the breakdown is? You think it's 60-40? You think it's 65-35? Because I mean, if it's 65-35, I'm good with Tyrone Tracy. Main thing, if we don't have any sort of clarity on who's got the, who's catching passes or who's getting the goal line work, and it's just kind of hot hand, that's going to be a nightmare because that offense isn't going to be very good. If I'm not like, they're going to be a bottom half unit, probably bottom 10. So I guess if you're desperate for running backs, draft one of those guys. I mean, it could be I just don't know. I don't know how to play that because they're not going to be a very good offense. And I don't typically try to take a bunch of running backs that aren't going to be like, they're not going to be able to run the ball and they're not going to have a lead very often.
What do you think, Big Co?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get my Tyrone Tracy a little cheaper than that, I think, especially you look just a couple picks later, like Trey Harris. If Trey Harris doesn't have to do much to be worth way more than Tyrone Tracy. And he's like, if Tyrone Tracy was in your rookie draft, unlikely he gets picked in front of Trey Harris. I talk about this every single time we come on here doing mock drafts and stuff. And when we make our real draft videos and this and that, like, the implementation of rookies into the startup is awesome, right? It just changes every time. And, so like, I think Trey Harris is I like that he's on the same team. The dude took Tyrone Tracy. It went to the turn and came back and he took Trey Harris there. It just feels like, you're looking at running backs on the list in this draft and this guy's thinking, I got Kenny 3-6. I got Kenny Walker already, which, just give him put yourself in the shoes, the guy who just took Tracy at 8-10. I love his team. Patrick Mahomes, first round, Trey McBride, second round, CJ Stroud. Then he goes Higgins and Worthy, 4-5. That's a great area to be grabbing those wide receivers. Kenny Walker, his first running back off the board, is a ridiculous value. And then Pickens, who is complete, like, firecracker in your hand. You're going to be holding it when it blows up? I don't know, but it's going to be real fun. Going to get your heart racing. And then Tyrone Tracy at 8-10, it's like, oh, man, like, that's like the first pick of his entire draft where I'm like, I don't know if I'd have done that. Yeah. 7 picks that were just pure fire, And Tyrone, like, if Tyrone Tracy's getting 65% of the load, we are wheels up.
Sure.
I like Cam Scottaboo. I like Cam Scottaboo's ability to do a little bit of everything and maybe a lot of everything. So maybe I'm just going to wait in the startup and I'll get Cam Scottaboo later than Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah. Well, typically, I think Scottaboo goes before Tracy. If Tracy in the 10th and the 11th, I'm in. I'm not taking him in the 8th. That's kind of the way I see it. Once we get into that 10, late 10, like early 11th, we've got some more guys off the board that I'd like to take. Like when we've seen him, you talked about it. Trey Harris, went there. There's some quarterbacks. There's Travis Etienne. There's some other players right now. I don't have the player pool pulled up in front of me as they come off the board. I'll be able to talk about some of them, but. Last mock I was in, it was 11-4. Sometimes it's the 12th round. Sometimes it's 10th, just depending on how it's kind of fallen. So probably 2-ish rounds early there on Tracy for me, but I'm still very interested in taking Tracy. Once he's in the 10th or 11th round, he definitely becomes somebody who gets added to my queue because I do think that backfield is going to be up for grabs. And I think Tracy's going to get first shot at it. And I think he was really good as a rookie last year. Again, offense probably not going to be great. See how quickly Dart comes in there and what he can do. Russ isn't my favorite. So if Jameis was in there, it'd be more fun to watch and root for, but I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. So it's a offense with a competition that's there. So once it gets to a certain point, I'm okay with taking the risk. Where in the 8th, there's too many guys that I'm still interested in there. So Doug comes in and says for $4.99 holler, y'all like Ayuk over Godwin? ?
I do. We had a discussion about Ayuk last week, and I feel like I've come a long way in 6 nights about my position on Ayuk. And I said it plenty of times about how aggravated I was with him in his contract scenario, trying to get a contract from the Niners. And I think what really happened was he posted that video where he was out front of the gate at the Niners facility, and he was just like yelling something like "open the gate," something like that. And it rubbed me the wrong way, right? Ayuk is a stud on the football field, and he's a stud in fantasy football. And I feel like whoever has the cojones to draft him and play that game of chicken, let him hang out there, and like Big D takes him here at 8-2, and he gets at the 7-11, he goes Waddle and he grabs Ayuk at 8-2. I don't think you could pair 2 back-to-back picks in this whole draft, if you look, to find better value than the Waddle Ayuk pick that he got at 7-11, 8-2, right? Both of those guys severely depressed in value right now. And Ayuk, I think, is just, if you could be the guy that takes, I don't want to be a trendsetter. I'm not going to go start grabbing him in the 5th round, of course, but 8th round Ayuk, it's just the more and more we had that conversation last week, the more and more I'm thinking about it. It's just golly, fast forward 12 months, and where are we going to be with Ayuk's value? It has to be better than 8th round, has to be. And that's all you're looking to do. Can this guy, where I'm taking him here, can he elevate? Is he going to stay the same? Is he going to go down? Sometimes staying the same is fine. Christian McCaffrey, 6th round, the gamble, the dice roll, throwing a knife at the wall, see if it sticks. If it sticks, it's fantastic, right? So, Ayuk, come on, man. He's got to be better than 8-2 12 months from now, right? I don't see any way that's not a perfect buy low.
Yeah. Pete Terranova says, fellas, and then Chev specifically, ! What up?
Yeah. Man, what's up, Pete?
Peter. I don't know if he likes Peter, but
I call him. Mama named him Pete. I'm gonna call him Pete.
He got Peter on the thumbnail. So
that's his government name. I don't know that one. I just know Supernova from Twitter X.
But I'm with you. Big Co. I like that. I like the value there for both of those picks. I think that's an easy 2-round move up, 3-round move up for Ayuk if he gets back on the field playing and the Niners are decent, right? That's a pretty easy come up in the value. But you might have to wait it out for a minute, and he might come back, and it might be a month before you even see him, and then it might be a little slow. And maybe there's the old, well, you could have bought him even a little lower. And it's maybe for some people, not for somebody like Big D, who's going there. But he took Rome Odunze in the 4th, and then and he does take Ayuk here, and we'll see what Waddle can do. but he does grab Devontae Adams, and that's a scenario where it's like, hey, I like this team. It's got some chances. There's some shots that really could be trajectory straight up, and pairing Devontae Adams with either the Ayuk and the Roma Dunze, who maybe you have a little bit of, I have the utmost confidence in Roma Dunze being a very good player. We just got to wait for some things to kind of shake out here. It's just a weird situation, right? But then he grabs Devontae Adams and buys himself a year of figuring out some situations, right? Because, maybe Devontae's cooked, but I don't think so. He looked great last year. So I like it,
where?
Right. I'm just saying. I'm usually I'm not super interested in drafting the older wide receivers, but this is the thing in that build, and it's the 10th round where it's like, all right, appropriate value. You got somebody who can really fill in the lineup, and that could be a winning lineup here, depending on how you build the rest of this out. ETN, another great piece of value there, and if McCaffrey's humming and Brees is humming, and Rome's doing anything at all, Ayuk comes back, Waddle just gets to a wide receiver 2, and Devonta Smith can be a wide receiver 2, and Adams is a WR1. Like that's a solid lineup. I love Caleb and Lamar's. I don't know that there's really any other quarterback that I trust more in a fantasy setting to win me a week than Lamar. So, I like that setup.
The way you just laid that out, I mean, that this team right here could definitely win the championship this year in this league.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was the point of, I think, that Devontae Adams pick. I mean, if we're in a good year, like let's say we get a back half of Brandon Ayuk where he comes back, he's fully healthy, he waits, a full year to return from the ACL, which is kind of the return to performance that you see with an ACL. If we're not going to just remove ourselves completely for a whole season, like that year mark is where you kind of see them start to regain some of the, return to performance. So if IU comes back and he's a high-end wide receiver 2, like that team's trained to go. They're ready to go. I mean, Devontae Smith rather is going to be around 13 points a game. But if for some reason he gets a bunch of volume, like he scored 8 touchdowns last year, if they uptick the volume at all, he's going to be a high-end wide receiver. So you got all the pieces in place. And then if IU can Waddle hit like they're capable of hitting, both from a ridiculous efficiency perspective, like that just takes him way over the top. And Devontae Adams is going to be a wide receiver 1 as long as he's healthy.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Henry Muto, shout out to you. Been in the last couple. What up? I don't get the ETN pick. Jacksonville hates him. This is the kind of stuff that I really like there. That's why I'm taking ETN, because he's so cheap. He's been at the top of the echelon in the top 5 of scoring for running backs. We have no idea what Jacksonville thinks about him. What's crazy is people think that Jacksonville hates him because they took a running back in the 4th round. Like,
yeah.
Chances are ETN's not in Jacksonville next year. And maybe they're just like, hey, we're trying to figure out what we have. And maybe they're not any good. Maybe by the end of the season, doesn't matter. But most likely they're going to head into week 1 with ETN being the lead guy. Like he's a pro. He's been there. He's been around. Him and the quarterback are homeboys. Like, I think we've got a really good chance of Travis Etienne being the starter week 1, and if not for the entire season this season, and seeing him and Tank go to work, and we don't even see that much Tootin until maybe later on in the season, or there's an injury or something. Like, these guys are just getting in there and figuring it out. So we don't know if this iteration of Etienne could come out and crush this year, and Liam Cohen go, oh fuck, we got to pay this guy. Like, I need this, right?
Yeah,
we have absolutely no idea how this is going to work out, and the fact that he has slipped so far down is the reason that I'm of course buying as much ETN as possible. Anywhere from 9 to round 12 is where I'm getting ETN. Yeah, he was last. That's exactly right. We're playing Dynasty, Henry. He was RB 40 last year. What was he the year before? RB 3. Like, this is
3.
Like, we can't just go off of what happened last year. This is the same conversation we led off with. I'm buying back into the talent. I like the talent of ETN. And so whether or not he gets back to RB3 doesn't matter. He's a 10th, 11th, 12th round pick. He could be a top 24 pick, and that's still fine with me for what I just paid for him. So I think there's a big sliding scale there of what the return on value of ETN is and what we've seen. So he's getting older, not younger. Yes, that's the way it works. But he's not 29. He's not 28. He might be 26. You know,
he just turned 26.
So we're still in a great range of, if Travis Etienne bounces back, his value is going to get super strong because he's not 28, 29 years old, right? He did, Saquon's one of the only ones, and Henry of the only ones recently that we've seen bounce back, and people go, oh shit, yeah, I'm still very much in because he's older, and maybe those guys help move that train along a little bit, and we see this extend a little further, right? So no, I understand why ETN is down here, but I love it, and I'm smashing ETN every draft possible. And a lot of the times I just let him hang around. I don't even take him in these mocks that we're doing because I'm like, let's see how long he'll sit there. And then all of a sudden I'm in the 12th round and ETN's there sometimes. And I'm like, I can't let him sit any longer. This is crazy. Yeah. I like the value, and I like what could be. And to me, he just became an escalator, right? He's somebody that I could take here, and all of a sudden week 6 could be somebody who I'm getting a first round pick for. And that's so not out of the realm of possibilities, right?
Yeah. Let's do a heat check on what, like you said, Travis Etienne 9-11. Like most of the time it's a little bit later than that, but again, we know our guy Vingo here, Big D.
And no shade to you, Henry. I appreciate you. I'm just
Casey's just talking through experience, but we've been doing this for many, many moons. So we've seen the ups and the downs. But like Travis Etienne, 9-11. Within the last 2 rounds, Mixon and Montgomery got taken at 7-12 and 8-1 turn. They're in the groups of the olds. And before that, you had to go all the way up to like 7-1 Derrick Henry for somebody that was really good, but he's old too. And then so 7-7 Chuba Hubbard. They tried to replace him last year with a draft pick, and who got hurt? And Chuba was awesome. So he got got a contract. Right. So we're going to go back over here to Travis Etienne, 9-11, right? Like it's a shot. The next 2 picks later, Alvin Kamara goes, a 30-year-old running back. And then DeAndre Swift, we kicked him to the curb, So like you're taking a shot on a running back who like 25, 26 years old, catches a ton of balls, has a chance to break away at any time. Are his tires flat? Is he going to be a bust? Possibly. But there was a lot of busting going on in Jacksonville last year. Yeah, hell, Brian Thomas wasn't 2 injuries. Brian Thomas wasn't even good. Brian Thomas wasn't even good until Mac Jones got in there, right? So let's just call it like it is. So like I'm big on Travis Etienne's value a little bit later, like you said, and normally he doesn't even get taken this early. So you take the home run called on Etienne. What did you give up? You give it like the next round. You gave up a chance to get some other old running backs who have also been tossed out. Not Alvin Kamara, but he was so good and he got old, and we thought he was done 2 years ago, and he came back around. But Jack Besh, mid-second round rookie pick, all the way. Like what have I given up? Matt Stafford, 40-year-old quarterback.
37.
So, right. So you're taking your shot on Etienne. If it goes well, it goes well. If not, you didn't miss a ton.
Yeah. Right. All right. Let's pick back up here a little bit. I know we left off around the Tyrone Tracy area at 8-10. We had Tyreek at 8-11, Jaden Reed rather, 8-12, Pacheco 9-1, Godwin, Trey Harris, Tucker Kraft, Josh Downs 9-5. Then it went Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram,
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. There you go. Thank you. Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold, Scatabo at 9-10, ETN 9-11, Sutton 9-12, Alvin Kamara 10-1, Devontae 10-2. Then we had Swift, Besh, Stafford, Geno Smith, like last 2 relevant quarterbacks that you could probably get starts out of this year for sure. Kind of going in that 11th, 10th round like that. Joku at 10-7, Shakir 10-8, Pittman 10-9, likely 10-10, Sharbs 10-11. So does Sharbs go to the one off the Kenny Walker owner? Jacoby Myers 10-12, McMillan 11-1, like that value. Tootin 11-2, Spears, Ridley, Robinson, Pollard coming in at 11-6, Connor 11-7, Kyle Williams 11-8, Trey Benson 11-9, Keon Coleman, Kyle Pitts, and Jake Ferguson rounding out the 11th round. 12th round starts up with Tyler Shuck. Then we have Jonnu, Evan Ingram, and Travis Kelce going in a run there. Then Ramondre, Juwan Jennings, which is, I think, just a great value in the 12th, 13th round right now. Debo, Mims, Najee, Warren, Rashid, Shaheed going 12-11, and then Otten 12-12. So we've had some picks fly off the board here. And again, I go over those for the podcast because this does go out as a podcast. So I at least try to give those guys frame of reference. And if you're just listening, not watching on YouTube, give you some shouts outs of kind of who's fallen off the board. You had Tillman go at 13-7, another great stab, like that Jennings Tillman stab there for Chance de Leon. I like those. One of the Patreon questions was kind of like, the second year running backs that didn't pan out last year. Do you have a favorite of those? And then we're kind of in that area right now with the Marshawn Lloyds, the Jalen Wrights, the Corums, kind of all those guys. Is there somebody that you like more than not taking the swing on here as we get later in the draft here, boys? Chev?
I mean, are we including Trey Benson in this?
You can share. Yeah, sure.
That's my guy. That's the one. Like, I genuinely believe he's the perfect 0 RB candidate. Like, second year guy. We replaced James Conner. He immediately, he's 6 foot. He's 220. He runs a 4.3. Fits into this percentile of athlete with Brees and Jonathan Taylor and blah blah blah. And James Conner's awesome. And so we didn't get anything that we wanted to see. But Trey Benson didn't look bad. I mean, he wasn't out there running in the back of his lineman. So, and he started to get better, and he had a couple flashes. So, yeah, Trey Benson for me. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Second year guy who I'm betting on, Trey Benson, full stop, no equivocations.
Big Co?
Yeah. Benson's name popped in my mind immediately as soon as you started that sentence about second year running backs. I really liked Benson for sure. And another reason probably because James Conner's age, it's the clearest, it's that Conner's been healthy for a few years now, which is fantastic. He's
mostly healthy. He's missed his time.
We go way back. James Conner goes way back with us, right?
Yeah.
We were the only people that thought he was going to be good at all in the podcast space 8 years ago. And so he's our boy. And I hope he does well. But Trey Benson is right there sitting behind, the older running back. And I agree. Everything Chev said, I completely agree. Hope Conner got a contract, and he's basically the heart and soul of the Cardinals offense and Cardinals locker room, possibly even, but the 30-year-old running back leaves the door open for Trey Benson earlier, than say somebody like Marshawn Lloyd behind Josh Jacobs. To me, Josh Jacobs a couple years younger. That's not hard math, but Josh Jacobs just seems like he's got a pretty healthy couple seasons in the tank. Loves the contact, doesn't shy away from it. So obviously that could lend its way to injuries, but I don't think Josh Jacobs is big on missing much time. He's a grinder. So yeah, I'd like the idea that Marshawn Lloyd could go out there and show us something, but we literally saw nothing.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, obviously Benson, I think, is at the top of the pyramid because of what you guys all just kind of laid out there. But these are, again, the shots that I'm going to be taking late in the draft. These were second round guys that people were pretty excited about last year for the most part. And it wasn't a fun running back class. So I get that part of it, but we just didn't really see any of them. Right. And so if they do start emerging somewhere, then people are going to get excited about them. Like Jalen Wright's splashy and seems to fit exactly what Miami would want to do and how they want to operate. Right. He could really pop off the page. Mostert was a guy who had experience with the Niners with back in the day. They had a lot of ties with Miami, and then he comes in, has a couple of good years with Miami. Now Mostert's out of town. Right. I think we could see some Wright. I think Marshawn Lloyd, I mean, before Josh Jacobs have we ever seen LaFleur just use one guy? He's always kind of had two guys around in there. And I think Josh Jacobs will probably be pretty appreciative if he could, have another running back in there that could be a little bit of a spell here and there for him. So I kind of like them all. I mean, Blake Corum's probably the one people were most excited about, and I'm probably least excited about this year just because Rams took another running back who, quite frankly, I probably like a little better than Blake Corum. Which means Blake Corum will probably take that job week one and never let it go. So yeah, I mean, obviously Jonathan Brooks got really hurt. So he's a flyer. He's somebody on like a rebuilding team, real shitty that I'd trade for and stick on my IR and just see what happens, right? So like I said, I mean, it's all of them, any of those second year guys, because I think people will get excited if they get a little glimmer of hope, mostly because there's nothing that anybody could say to really poo-poo them all that much outside of some people who didn't like those guys coming in, like you saw it with Benson last year. The guys who didn't like Benson on those first couple of runs were like, "See, stinks," and you're like, "All right, dude, fucking relax." And then by the end of the year, I thought Benson had some good runs, and like they're
exactly
right. So I'm with you. I'm with you guys. All right, let's look at this thing coming into the later rounds. As I've been kind of gathering information and data, I feel like those middle like 5 through 8, 9 are just I want to, obviously every round's pretty important, but 5 through 9 seemingly have become really, really. I think there's a lot of talent in those spots and a lot of value to be picked and choose from, and you hitting the right combinations of there are really big parts of the draft. So we're a little late in the cycle on this one to really start pulling that apart. I'd like to take some time to do that. What are we thinking about some of these later round guys now that we're down here that you guys would want to be pulling trigger on? I love what Chance did, and he just came into the chat to say what up, man, how you doing? But he went Jennings, Tillman, Wandale, 12, 13, 14, man. That's a hell of I love that back end stack right there on some cheap wide receiver depth.
Me too.
I mean, we're assuming that they're going to give Wandale another shit ton of targets. So I'm absolutely thrilled about that. But here's a question. And I know, Casey, you're a big Bateman guy. I mean, you're a big Flowers guy, not a big Bateman guy from what I've interacted with you on. Can he take another step forward?
Bateman?
I mean, he was super efficient last year.
Why not?
If we're assuming that passing game can take a step forward, and he's probably the preferred red zone option to Zay Flowers. Like, could we? I mean, he had 750. This is the first season he's played a truly full season since his rookie year. Like, could he take another step forward, get closer? Like that 750 and 9 looks a lot better if it ends up being like 990 and 11. Like, could he go that far forward? I mean, I'm comfortable taking the stab on that in this round. But like Wandale, also PPR machine. So I was a Bateman guy coming out, and it's taken a while to get some, satisfaction off that. But yeah, Bateman for me is kind of what sticks out here, like right next to Wandale.
That's an interesting name call out there. You could throw Mooney out there as well, as far as somebody who really, really produced, and they're down here in the 14th round. Like Rashad Bateman tore it up last year. So two things here for me on that. Like last year before the season, I shared an interview that I heard with the local long-time Ravens beats writer, and he says the reason why Rashad Bateman doesn't work in Baltimore is because Lamar Jackson, being the stud that he is, doesn't play on like a 5 or 7 step drop tempo. And Rashad Bateman is a really, really high-end route runner, and he's going to be where he needs to be at the right time, but that ain't, that's not how Lamar Jackson plays, and it really lends itself more into the Flowers situation. Well, you hit a nail on the head with Bateman's health and playing the games, but I look at Lamar Jackson taking the steps in the last 2 years. So last year was his second year in a real legit pro style passing offense. And so if we look at back and see what Lamar Jackson has been doing in the last 2 years, which was throwing touchdown passes. Like I saw a stat the other day, and I didn't really reread it like I should have, but it was something about his passes over 10 yards and like only 1 interception, and his numbers being amazing, right? Like this is Lamar Jackson, the guy that some people were heckling him, saying him to work out as a wide receiver. Remember, like this is Lamar Jackson that spent a couple years in a Greg Roman running back, leak the tight end out on the backside, get the ball down the field, matriculated however you got to, run for 50-yard touchdown, do what you got to do. Lamar Jackson has been dicing up the league with his arm the last 2 years. And last year was his breakout year. He had better numbers last year than he did the year before when he won the MVP. They switched it with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen should have had MVP 2 years ago. Lamar Jackson was obviously the MVP last year, kind of like that whole NBA thing with the MVP. Michael Jordan couldn't win it every year. Lamar Jackson was the MVP last year. He didn't get his name called, but he was, and he was ridiculous. And if he steps up, and if Lamar Jackson has a third-year breakout in a passing offense for the NFL this year, what is he going to throw him 78 touchdowns? I mean, this dude is absolutely broken out of whatever shell we tried to put him in 3 different times. I couldn't be happier for him. And Rashad Bateman is like along for the ride. So 14th round Rashad Bateman. That turned into a Lamar Jackson is an awesome NFL passer now rant, but good for Lamar and good for Bateman to finally stay healthy for a year. And I like Rashad Bateman's return, his ROI on that 14th round, mid 14th round selection right there. You know, throw him in when you need to. I mean, he wouldn't be in my starting lineup week 1. I wouldn't want him to be, but man, he's nice depth on the bench.
Yeah, I don't know if there's I don't dislike Bateman at all. I like Bateman. I just a Flowers guy, so he might just overshadow my non-hate for Bateman.
Lots of Flowers love over there from Casey.
I don't mind. I would like to see Bateman go somewhere else, frankly, and get a second chance. Somebody said it's Bateman's. Doug said Bateman's second act might be where we see a real big explosion. But what's been sticking out to me in the mocks that I've been seeing recently. Look, we got 14-4, 15-9, and 13-5. Those are 3 tight ends that go in the second round of tight end premium startups or tight end premium rookie drafts, and they're down here in the 15th round. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be whoever you like, and maybe you like none of them, but like those dudes stay on the board forever, and they're like most of them are second round actual NFL picks, and they're second round tight end premium rookie draft picks in a lot of cases. So value wise, I'm not sure that there's a better trio of players right now in startups in tight end premium than those 3 rookie wide receivers, or tight ends. So that's been sticking out to me, and I like that Royals pick there. But yeah, Leggett at 14, Mooney at 14-2. You guys had mentioned Bateman there. I've been liking the Diggs in the 14th round. I think him and May could have something nice. Maybe it's not right away, but mid-season, I think you could get a lot of play out of Diggs there. We've talked about it a few times, but you got Dylan Sampson, Braylon Allen, Jordan Mason, Tank Bigsby, Garendo, Ray Davis, like all those are premium players with one injury. Just could absolutely just smash shit out of the water. I know we could say that with just about any of these running backs, but those guys are the guys that seem like for whatever reason to me, a lot of that group right there really stands out. Like, Jaden Blue really could come out and have a big role right away. So that, I don't mind taking that pick in the 13th round or whatever. And if somehow you got a hold of him and Javonte, might be interesting to pair both of them up there. But those were, I mean, we kind of have put Tank Bigsby in a corner here, and I'm giving you can get Tank Bigsby and ETN on the same team for super cheap. And somebody even said it in these comments. I don't know who, but like theoretically you would think, I mean, obviously this regime took Tootin, but Tank's been there and is a good player. Like I would think that Tootin's going to come out as the third RB in this rotation, unless he's just undeniable. Now, whether it was Cohen's call or not to not keep Bucky off the field, I don't know. Or who drafted Bucky and who was the talent evaluator on that, TBD. But Tank Bigsby, we haven't really, nobody's really given him any love, and obviously he's had a ball security problem last year. But I think Tootin came out and fumbled on his first rep. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing. You have to be able to. I mean, Travis Etienne wasn't great holding on to the ball either. So it may end up being Tank Bigsby by default because he's the only one that doesn't get the fumble rooskies on a regular basis. So I mean, I'm fine though. I'm fine with Tootin there. I mean, he did fumble the ball 9 times on 400 touches, and Travion Henderson had 600 touches and never fumbled. So, like it's a real thing with him and Jaden Blue. Like they fumble the ball. They got to get that fixed. Otherwise, it's going to be like, yeah, he could be real good, or he could never touch the ball again. I mean, that's what happened to Stephen Ridley back in the day. So
yeah. Anything else y'all boys want to hit on before we dip out of here? Couple of team builds that stick out to you. We talked about Hoodie early with the way he built that up with the wide receivers early. This Cocoa Bean kind of jumped out on me, just that there was a whole bunch of blue boxes in the middle there, and I actually don't hate him. Right, he just took, I think, a lot of you were talking about that 7-11 8-1 value, Big Co, a while ago, and I like that, but Olave, Addison, Judy, Pittman, Calvin Ridley, and Diggs, like all brand name fucking receivers there, things break right. And that could be just like the dirtiest little, like, nobody's a star-studded player outside of maybe Diggs back in the day and Ridley a little bit, but like that could just be a crusher of a lineup of wide receivers that you're sticking out there. If all things break correctly, quarterback wise and whatnot. Then you got Tucker Kraft in there.
Well, it hadn't been long since Olave had a really high price tag.
Right. And Judy, if he gets quarterback play, I think the price tag would be even higher from the way he played. Pittman's super cheap right now. Ridley's old, but me and Chev and a bunch of other people on record that we like him. I just said I like Diggs. Like, he's got Bijan and Travion. Like we need a little bit more running back play on that team, but if things are going well with all those blue boxes, you could go buy a cheaper running back for this team. He's also got 4 quarterbacks, although I probably am not taking Russell at that 14-9 spot. I would have done something else there, especially because you have 3 and you do have, like, McCarthy's could be an excellent escalator in value, right? Where
well, you called it out, like you said, Tank Bigsby, Ray Davis, Garindo, Braylon Allen, Mason, like those 5 running backs that went off the board between your Russell Wilson pick and your Dylan Sampson, nothing wrong with that. But like all 5 of those guys are, like you said, the injury away. Garindo being the most obvious, like Christian McCaffrey with the most likely problems coming up based on what we've seen.
Mason. I mean, Mason's right there, and Aaron Jones has not been the picture of health either.
But so yeah. You spend a shot right there on Russell Wilson. You could have just had one more of those running backs with just maybe a free ticket to the dance. Russell Wilson's on his way. He's out. He's already danced. He's on his way in the parking lot. He's about to get in the car and ride home.
Oh, he's doing a dance, but it's goofy as hell, and everybody's like, "Man, get the fuck out of here!"
No, so I mean, I don't. There's no coming back for Russell Wilson, man. There's no. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't like to shut the door on players like that. Like what but. Unless he throws it to Neighbors every single throw, like I don't see it.
There's no way Malik Neighbors likes Russell Wilson either. No way.
No.
I mean, yeah, it's, when it's over, it's over. I don't really, he hasn't played well in any stop, played well enough in any stop since leaving Seattle to make me think that he could be the long-term starter. Like you'll see flashes, you'll get a couple good games, but it's never going to be sustained enough for me to buy into him just being, the reason that a system functions at a high level. Like we're holding water for Jackson Dart to learn how to call plays and a snap count. That's what we're doing there. Like we got to figure that out.
Killer Potato Fish in the draft here is Killer PF. He said Russell's a pick for me when you're not confident in your QB2 and you want one more option. Exactly. And I just don't think you need to do that with the team build that Keiko kind of had built out there. You have May and Nix. You should feel pretty confident in that. And then you have McCarthy, right? So I don't need to take the shot. Just like Big Co just laid out there, like take a shot on another running back down there, man. Do something a little different. Anything stand out to you here, Chev, team build wise? And we'll wrap this thing up.
I don't know when Twiles went on auto, but I really enjoyed this start. Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Bucky Irving. Then you got a really, really strong QB2 that could be a QB1 in Dak. Zay Flowers, wide receiver, boom bust, wide receiver 2. If he takes that step forward, and then you hammer old running backs. So you're looking to try to compete this year. The one thing that I would like to do different is instead of going Zay Flowers there, I might go Kittle just to have, if I'm going that direction of at that point, it looked like he was going, it looked like he was going young, and then he pivoted to all the old running backs that are going to give him 15, 16 points a game. So I might go Kittle there, but it's fine. Like Zay Flowers is going to probably maybe have a little bit more long-term value if he takes another step forward. And then, but I just don't love the tight ends. And I would have personally, if I'm going to go old wide receiver, that's going to be Devontae Adams over Cortland Sutton there. Like they go off. He turns Cortland Sutton, Alvin Kamara. I would go Devontae Adams, Alvin Kamara, because where Devontae Adams is going to be unless something goes horribly wrong next year.
Yeah, I think you went on auto on that Dobbins pick because Dobbins stays at the top for a while. Although I don't mind taking Dobbins, just take him a little later. Somebody's going to eventually scoop up Dobbins. Dobbins wasn't terrible last year.
Yeah, he picked.
You could have taken him where you took Tank Dell because that was an auto as well. So, but yeah.
That kind of stood out. Like I said, that kind of stood out to me. I would like to be a little bit stronger. At tight end. And then if you get anything from Tyler Shuck, that could become, a nice little tool to potentially tier up for some depth, like a quality option that could pop off.
I kind of been loving that Shuck 12th round pick. I'm not going to lie.
Imagine what we would be saying about this team if instead of taking Mixon and Montgomery, if he'd have taken like Pearsall and Luther Burden, or something like that, bang, 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 and then you could, not to say that you can replace Mixon and Montgomery, but when you're on the turn, when you have 2 picks in a row, you can do damage and you can break hearts, right? So, not that Mixon and Montgomery weren't in people's queues in the next little bit, because it was, as we talked about when we were talking, I was defending the Trevor Etienne pick. You go a couple rounds right there, between 7, 8, 9, not really seeing any running backs I feel like that are worth investing in, because that's what you're doing when you're making those draft picks. But like, the Tony Pollard and the Brian Robinson and stuff, that could have been your 10, 11 turn. When you took, you got Kamara, right? Like you're saying, Chevy hammered him. So like, as Jake Ferguson, I like the idea of his targets coming back around this year, but you could have gotten Brian Robinson at the 11, 12 in that turn right there, and had just a couple of other like higher value assets that are likely to stay around a little longer versus the Mixon Montgomery turn right there. But you did put points in your lineup with those guys. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I like it. Just trying to find one more. Let's take a look at hoodies, how it finished, and then Trey said the 12th pick finished really well. We'll take a quick peek at that. Hoodie went Chase, Brian Thomas, JSN, Kyler Murray, Warren, Harvey, McLaurin, Pearsall. Then he went 2 quarterbacks. He went Anthony Richardson, Matthew Stafford. So he took the upside in Richardson and then came back with some safety of Stafford. Got himself Kyle Williams, Ramondre, Pat Freiermuth, who could be awesome, Rashad White, Theo Johnson, and then ended with Algier, right? Another one of those backups who an injury, and that's definitely helping you get somewhere. So I don't mind that build at all. He's a little light in the running back department, but again, if things are going well, I think, there's veteran older running backs are, fairly easy to buy middle of the season. If, there's going to be 3 or 4 teams that are, tanking, and they probably got an old running back or 2, right? So no, that's a possibility of purchasing there. And then the last team, he had Gibbs, Neighbors, McConkey. Then he went Trevor, Penix, Hawk, Derrick Henry in the 7th, Jaden Reed in the 8th, Pacheco in the 9th, Jacoby and McMillan 10, 11. I don't hate those 2 picks there. Otten at 12. Not sure what to make of Otten this year. They got a lot of weapons. Then he went Knoll, which I think is a good grab. Garendo, a good grab. Coker, good grab. And then Strange, like how Strange lasts until the last pick in the draft is crazy, right? Just perceived upside there of what could be with Strange. He's got good draft capital for the Jacksonville. There's nobody else in his way. they're void of pass catchers really kind of all around. He could just trip backwards into 60, 70 catches.
He definitely could. Yeah, the last pick in this draft that's a great pick.
Yeah. So I think he did a good job piecing that together. A couple of picks, or whatever, but for the most part, I like the philosophy and kind of how you built that. Chev, any closing thoughts?
No, I mean that last round of tight ends is diabolical. JT Sanders, Harold Fannin, Ben Sinnott. I'm a big Ben Sinnott guy. I mean, obviously, I just follow Zach Ertz and I start picking up his backup tight end. And that dude, outside of Dallas Goedert, it turns into fantasy gold. So yeah. I'm still a big Ben Sinnott guy. So that getting him at the last round of that draft, really, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of, it's tremendous value because again, you saw what happened with Trey McBride. People wrote Trey McBride off after 1 year. Oh, he's not good. He couldn't beat out Zach Ertz. Like, we got to stop it with that. So yeah.
All right, boys. Until next Monday, he's Chev. That's Big Co. I'm Casey. We're the FF Dynasty. We'll be back next week with another live Dynasty mock. It's startup season, baby. Maybe one of these times, maybe we'll try to do a live auction. See how that goes. Maybe we should do that on Patreon first before we bring
it. Let's make sure it's not 3.5 hours.
But I feel like we're going to try to figure out how to do some auction talk. But, I feel like we kind of got to get in a live startup at least to really bring it to you how it needs to be brought to you, because there's all these little things that until you're in the action doing it that are such crucial pieces that are really hard to be like, explain how this goes. Just,
without screen sharing a draft board and an auction, there's no way to really tell somebody how it's going.
Right.
Right. Got to be able to put that up on the screen and tell you what's happening. I completely agree, Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Peace.